What do most Fortune 500 executives have in common? After more than 150 conversations with executives from companies like Disney, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, I've learned that sports is a common denominator. Some of our guests' athletic experiences earned them a place in their sports hall of fame, like Chick-fil-A chairman Dan Cathy. Some hung up their cleats after high school, like Delta Airlines CEO Ed Bastian, while others, like Condoleezza Rice, claim they weren't that great in their sport. But no matter their skill level, they have all told me that being a part of a team taught them leadership lessons that they still use today. In partnership with Chief Executive Magazine, I'm your host, Don Yeager, here to give you an all-access pass to genuine, authentic, fireside chat-like conversations with today's business icons so that you can create powerful change in your organization. This is Corporate Competitor Podcast. With me for today's episode is Frank Siller, Chairman and CEO of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, established in memory of his brother, New York firefighter Stephen Siller, who sacrificed his life to save others on September 11th, 2001. Frank leads Tunnel to Towers in honoring America's first responders and military heroes. The foundation builds smart homes for catastrophically injured veterans, in addition to providing mortgage-free homes to Gold Star and fallen first responder families. I want to thank my friend Brian Parker for making this episode happen. As always, visit corporatecompetitorpodcast.com/notes to find my favorite quotes from today's conversation and a thought-provoking reflection question to help you apply today's insights.
I know if I say it out loud, I can't let my brother down. I went on Fox the 5 and I told them all about that we're going to eradicate homelessness amongst our veterans. If your mission is what your mission is, you better use the right word. So if it's eradicate, it's eradicate. Not we're going to take care of people who die in the line of duty. No, we're going to eradicate. We're going to take care of every first responder. It's a strong word. Say it. That's what we're going to do.
Frank, thanks for joining us.
Don, thank you so much for having me here today.
It's an emotional day for many of us in America, probably more so for you than most. On that September 11th, 2001 date, your brother Stephen, who was a firefighter assigned to Brooklyn's Squad 1, had just finished his shift and was on his way to play golf with you when he got word that a plane had hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center. What he did when he heard that news is why we're celebrating his legacy today.
Yes, 23 years later now.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, it's incredible. My brother was the youngest of 7 kids.
Wow.
When he was born, I was the closest in age. I was already 14 years old. My oldest brother was 25.
Oh my gosh.
And a lot of ones in between. So he was our little miracle, to say the least, our little gift from God. But my parents died when he was a little boy. My father died when he was 8.5, and my mom died a year and a half later. 10 years old, he was orphaned. So Stephen was as much a son to myself and to my siblings as he was a brother. Grows up, becomes this outrageous human being, firefighter, courageous, Squad 1 in Brooklyn, which is an elite group that trains to save other firefighters. And he trained for terrorism, believe it or not. He always said to me, Frank, we're going to be hit. I just want to let you know we're going to be hit. And, sad to say he was right. So he just finished his night tour. The 4 brothers were going to play golf, which we never really got an opportunity to do that. We all had kids, we all have busy lives. Maybe 1 or 2 of us played together, but never all 4 of us, very rarely, I should say. He always had his radio in his car. He heard that the towers were hit. He turns his truck around, goes back to his firehouse, calls his wife up, Sally, and says, Sally, tell my brothers I'll try to catch up with them later. Gets his gear, drives to the mouth of the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. Now, that tunnel leads Brooklyn to downtown Manhattan, which is literally a half a mile less away from Ground Zero. Eyewitness said he came to a screeching halt, jumped out, and they were closed for security reasons. He strapped 60 pounds of fire gear on his back. He runs through that tunnel up West Street into the South Tower, we believe, because that's where his other Squad 1 members were recovered. and you'd want to fight this great fire with the people you train with every day. Going up those stairs, he gave up his life saving others.
Mm.
When we heard as a family what he did, we knew we had to do something to never forget. And not just Stephen, but what so many great heroes did that day. You could imagine they were going to so many wakes, so many
Oh,
funerals.
yeah. They were exhausted.
Every firefighter was so worn down. They lost the guys they worked with. It was horrific. It was so sad to be here in New York and seeing all this. And I lost other friends. I have a picture, I know I have it, of myself, my brother Stephen, Scott Davison, and Tommy Hannafin. And those three guys were in my backyard on the 4th of July, 2001, for a barbecue that I was having. We lost a lot of good people. It was most certainly a sad time. But the tremendous loss that I had with my brother, I didn't want to stay there. All our siblings made a conscious decision that we are not going to stay in that hole. We are going to get off our knees. Yes, I pray on your knees, but then you get off your knees and you got to do something. And that's why we started the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. He ran through the tunnel to the towers where he gave up his life to save others.
All of us have suffered something, but most of us not as dramatic as your family's loss. What you did there and how you've held it together 23 years, that's crazy, to be able to build something so significant as T2T, really impressive. Is there some advice, something that you think really made a difference for you and your colleagues that made what you're doing in Stephen's name so successful?
Well, Don, thank you for asking that. We're a very simple family that had a very simple goal to honor the sacrifice of their little brother and to remember all those who perished on September 11, 2001. And then we grew it to making sure that we never forget about all the sacrifice of men and women in uniform who went to war because of what happened on 2001. And then, we have to take care of first responders who die in the line of duty because they leave these families behind. So God put us on a path. He makes it so obvious to me that, you can't say no. You just have to do it. We built the first smart home for the first catastrophically injured service member ever, Brendan Morocco, who's from my hometown, Stephen's hometown, Staten Island, New York. 2009, he was injured, lost 4 limbs. Mm-hmm. I went to visit him in the spring of 2010, and I asked him, I said, Brendan, can we build you a home? And it ended up being that somebody showed up on the job and they told me about all the smart technology that we could put in the home to give him back some of his independence. And I like to say we built a smart home because not that I was smart, because I was smart enough to have somebody there that God sent me. He keeps on sending me people with this unbelievable talent to help the greatest of all Americans. And who are they? Those who are willing to die for you and I, and sometimes do. So all I have to do is listen to the man from above. Look, I'm a very spiritual person. My family, my parents were Franciscans who taught us. St. Francis of Assisi said, brothers and sisters, while we have time, let us do good. And we don't waste any time. I don't waste any time. My family doesn't waste any time. And we are trying to do good. So our mission is so pure. People see where their money goes because we're building these homes for these great heroes, mortgage-free homes, smart homes for catastrophically injured service members, or we're paying off the mortgages for these first responders or Gold Star families who have a loved one die in the line of duty that leave a young family behind. And we don't ask for a lot of money. We ask for $11 a month to join us on our mission to do good and to never forget these great heroes and their families.
I heard a handful of really good suggestions. One was, you didn't just say, we're just going to celebrate Stephen. As you began to realize there were greater needs, you celebrated more than just Stephen. And then you even went into injured veterans from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. As your vision kept expanding, your mission kept expanding, it created larger opportunities for you.
100%. So from the very first run that we had, in September, the year later, every year we run through the tunnel, New York City. We have the 5K event and we retrace my brother's final heroic footsteps, which was an idea of a friend of his, Billy Codd. I said, oh my goodness.
What a great idea.
Now, how do you get that done? You know what I mean? Once again, we had divine intervention and a lot of good people. So the first year I had a good friend of mine, captain in the fire department. And I said, listen, I want to have 343 flags because it's not just about Stephen. And then I went to the fire department. I says, I need the pictures of all these great heroes. And we've been holding every single one of them from the second year on. But you're right. We included the sacrifice of all those great heroes on 9/11 and the sacrifice afterwards of all those great heroes with the global war on terror. It's always last Sunday in September. This year will be September 29th. The Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, which is 1.7 miles long. That's my brother ran through that with his 60 pounds of gear on his back. When you come out that tunnel, you're going to see all these firefighters and police officers holding the banners of pictures of the 343 firefighters who died on 9/11 and the 60 police officers, Port Authority and NYPD officers who died on 9/11. But after that, you're going to see the names and pictures of all 7,000 men and women who died in the global war on terror, who put their lives on the line and gave their lives so we didn't have another attack here in America. They're shoulder to shoulder. It's almost a mile long. And we have so many Gold Star families that run through and stop and say a prayer at their husbands or their fathers or their brothers or their sisters, mothers or fathers. Being that we honor all these great heroes, it has helped us to expand our mission to where we're able to be successful.
Frank, we talk a lot in the work that I get a chance to do with companies about the importance of having a feel it moment when you feel why what you're doing matters. And sometimes even in great charities, because there's so many things you have to do to make an event like that happen. Sometimes a moment like that gets lost if you don't make it as big as you have. I was sitting there thinking, how am I going to read the next question? I had tears in my eyes as you were telling that story.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. We have so many others I'd like to hold because so many police officers die every year. So many firefighters die. And we made a promise that we're going to take care of every first responder in America, every single one. If you die in the line of duty and you leave a young family behind, we're going to pay off your mortgage. And if you don't have a home, we're going to buy you a home or build you a home. We could do that every single year. And we do it for Gold Star families also because I said, hey, if we're taking care of these heroes that risk their lives, how can we not take care of Gold Star widows or, widowers? And I know one widower, a special forces guy, Joe Kent, lost his wife, Shannon Kent. His wife was in the Navy. She was in Syria. A suicide bomber took her life, and it was a friend of mine's niece. He's got a couple of kids. How can we not take care of these families?
Right.
And then we made a new promise about a year and a half ago about eradicating homelessness amongst our veterans. By the end of this year, we will have done over 2.5 years, 10,000 homeless veterans off the street into their own apartment or own home. And we get them all the comprehensive services they need with our national network that we have. We have a case manager with each one of these great heroes to make sure they get all the help they need to assimilate back into society. It's a great undertaking. I'm not afraid to take on the right thing to take on, no matter how enormous it is or how big the task is, because I believe in America. I believe in the goodness of America and the kindness of America and the generosity of America. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we talked about there's no other country that has the not-for-profits that we have or do the work that Tunnel to Towers does for sure in the way that we do it. And we're proud of our percentages. Over 90% of every dollar goes to these great heroes, the people that it's intended to go to. The foundation bears my brother's image and bears my brother's name, and the foundation will be held to the highest standards of any foundation in America.
I'm not afraid to take on the right thing, no matter how enormous.
Yes.
What strikes me about this is that the ultimate beneficiary that you guys have targeted are families of those who have given it all. Was there a story behind what led you to want to do that exact thing?
Yeah. June 11, 2011, we delivered our first smart home. Brendan Morocco, right? We've been doing it ever since, hundreds of them. 2014, Detectives Lou and Ramos, December 20th, in New York City, were assassinated by somebody who came up from Baltimore because there was a false narrative going on that every cop was bad. Well, I found out that one family was worried about their mortgage. I went to visit them on Christmas Eve, Detectives Lou and Detectives Ramos' family. I sat in their house and I said, Tunnel Towers is going to pay off your mortgage so you could stay in the home. Then I went to the public and I went on TV and I said, can you help us by the end of the year, can you help us to make sure we get this mortgages paid off? Not only did I raise enough money to pay off their mortgages, I raised enough money to help renovate their homes as well. I said, oh my goodness, look at the difference we're making. Then 5 police officers were killed in Dallas, assassinated again. We raised $500,000, gave $100,000 to each family. My God, we should be doing this for every police officer, every first responder in America. It's the right thing to do. Simple. It's not simple in there. You have to raise the money, but it's a simple commitment to make, is to make sure that we take care of every single one of them. And we have been. We do over 200 mortgages a year, over 200 mortgages a year. It's a promise that we're making. The Tunnel to Towers make a promise. If you're willing to risk your life, we're going to take care of your family, God forbid. It puts a little peace of mind to these great heroes who go to service, saying, God forbid something happens, I know Tunnel to Towers Foundation to take care of my family on the level of paying off their mortgages, because that is the biggest debt that anybody has.
Wow. So far, you've given away more than 1,200 mortgage-free homes for families, and I'm sure all 1,200 of them have an incredible story.
They do. So I'm fortunate enough to make the calls to the widows. Many of these calls I make myself.
Mm.
Just so many unbelievable reactions. We cry together on the phone. I tell them that she's not alone. I tell them that the foundation will always be here for you. And I always ask them if they believe in the life after death. And every single one of them they have. And I said, you're right. One day you'll be in paradise with your husband or your wife. But I'm talking about for you. There's life for you after his death now.
Mm-hmm.
For you and your family. It's so important to let them know that the best way to honor anybody is to live a full, clean, productive life, happy life, as happy as you can be, because not every day is going to be happy. You're never going to fill that hole. You're never going to be the same person. How could you be? You shouldn't be when you go through something like that. But it can make you appreciate every moment, every day. My brother did. After losing both my parents at such a young age, this kid and this man, learned that every day was so valuable. And it is so valuable. We can't waste it. That's the story of Tunnel to Towers Foundation. It doesn't stop on 9/11. It is born from 9/11. And we'd like to make sure this foundation lasts forever, because the need is going to be there forever, because there's always going to be first responders who die in the line of duty. There's always going to be Gold Star families that are going to need our help, that have their loved one dies for our country. And there's always going to be catastrophically injured service members or first responders that need a smart home. And last but not least, there's always going to be homeless veterans that we're going to have to take care of. And that is our commitment.
Gosh, it's just amazing to think about. You started this wanting to retrace the steps of your brother. That's it.
That's it.
We want to run the tunnel, make our way to the tower. We want to retrace the steps. And now you've got a curriculum for K-12. I love the vision work that's being done. You're not staying in your lane. You keep adding lanes.
No more lanes. No more lanes.
Oh, I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Believe it.
I could say that today. But you've raised $500 million. Think about that. Really incredible. So what did you learn about leadership going from zero, wanting to run the steps of your brother, to this behemoth of an organization that is touching the lives of so many? What did that journey teach you about leadership that I can learn from you?
It was simple. It was pure. We just wanted to do the right thing. We listened when we saw a challenge and we knew it was the right thing to do. How could you say no when it's the right thing to do? All you have to do is just listen. You can't let fear get in the way of growing something when it's the right thing to do. You can't do it yourself. I couldn't do it myself. My siblings can't do it ourselves. All the hundreds of firefighters that joined us in the beginning, that's not enough. We needed everybody. Fire department says many hands makes light work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we have many people donating $11 a month, when we get to 1 million people, and we really appreciate it, that alone will give us enough money to budget to take care of all what we have to take care of every single year. So you have to have a real plan, too.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a real plan to sustain the commitment and the promise that you made. First, I say it out loud because I'm a proud person. I'm goal-oriented. And I know if I say it out loud, I can't let my brother down. I'm pointing this way because I have a picture of my brother right here. I look there so often on the course of the day when a decision has to be made. And right next to him is my oldest brother, Russ, who died a few years ago with Alzheimer's. He was our spiritual leader of the foundation, and no one could have a better older brother than my brother, Russ. And I have the pictures of my mother and father
Mm.
right behind me. Of course, my wife and my kids and my grandkids and all that kind of stuff. I got 7 grandkids. I'm very happy. This is how the decisions are made. Just be pure and true to yourself and true to the mission, and you're going to be successful.
I love it. That's a pretty good business plan right there. I want to ask you, golf. Talk to me about Stephen as a golfer.
Well, there's two Stevens as a golfer. There's the hothead Steven, who could throw a club further than anyone I've ever seen, and the unbelievable golfer Stephen was. So Stephen started, he was a terrible golfer, but he was determined to get good, and he got good. We went up to the Catskills. We played the Monster Concord, 7,900 plus yards. We played from the tips.
Mm.
Stephen's first 4 holes were horrible. The 5th hole, finally, he hits a really good drive, par 5. No way he's getting home at 2. It's a little muck lake right in front of it. Not lake, but a little pond, let's say, but it was dried out, most of it. I said, you're not getting. I lay up. He tries to go in. He thinks he goes over. I said, you're not over. He thinks he goes over. So he goes down there. He's so frustrated now. He can eat the golf club. He hits himself in the head with it, like this. He can't find it. So I finished the hole. He's in the muck. Took his shoes off. He's in the muck trying to find his ball. I played the next par 3. There's nobody up there. I played a par 3 3 times. I come back. I finally get him out of there. He found 95 golf balls. We clean off his feet, use his golf talk, and then he plays unbelievable the rest of the day. And that's the type of Steve. He could turn it off and on, but sometimes he needed something to alleviate that anger. One of the last times I played golf with him, we played 63 holes in one day.
Boy.
We were planning to play 90 holes. This was in August of 2001. We said next summer we're going to come up here the longest day, and we're going to get 90 golf holes in competitively too. Sometimes we only use one club for the round or whatever it may be. Yeah, I love playing golf with him. We were 2 nuts out there. I was a little more calm than he was, but we were both very competitive as brothers, as all the brothers were. Our last basketball game the 4 brothers had, it started out a normal basketball game. It ended. There was no dribbling involved. We were running with the basketball in our hand like it was a football to try to get to the rim to get off a shot. Literally, all of us were cut up and bleeding, but we left with our arms around each other. We stopped playing at one point because we know we're going to get hurt. It's 4 brothers that loved each other. And my sisters were like 3 extra mothers from my brother. He had a lot of love in his family. That is what carried him through his day. He had married 5 beautiful kids that are doing phenomenal. His wife, Sarah, who we call Sally, did a phenomenal job with those 5 kids. Every one of them are turning out to be a success. And I don't mean just financially. I just mean as human beings.
I love it. Just like in sports, sometimes in business, losses are essential.
Yes.
To require the team to come together, analyze places we were not strong enough, maybe even get stronger. It sounds so magical, running through a tunnel, $500 million, but I know nothing is linear. There are moments out there where something went wrong.
Of course, there are a tremendous amount of failures. There are people that I thought were going to do some things that might not have done it. You know what I mean?
And how do you handle that?
I move on.
Really?
Oh, yes. Maybe a day or 2 it bothers me, but I move on because I can't expect everybody to have the same passion as I do. You know what I mean? Or I can't expect everyone to believe in it like I do, or believe in it like so many other people do that have joined us on the foundation. Of course, there's disappointments. Yes, there have been complications. There have been disagreements. There have been people I might have hired that I shouldn't have hired. Come on, people make plenty of mistakes, but they don't have to share my passion because my passion's different and it should be different.
Right.
But they have to have the passion, a passion for what we do. And it can't just be a job.
Mm-hmm.
We ask too much of everybody, but there's so much success, so many people that have helped us that I can't stay in that bad place. You're on your knees, get off your knees, do something.
Right.
On the average, on the whole, we stick with our mission and only surround ourselves with good people. You could be the most talented person in the world, but if you're not a good person, I don't want anything to do with you. You know what I mean? We have to stay who we are. And it's all based upon our spiritual side of the Siller family that our mother May and my father George, who taught us very early on, you are who your friends are.
Mm-hmm.
You are who you hang out with.
Mm-hmm.
Be around these special people, and you run your business that way.
Mm.
And we don't have to be ruthless. We're not. We invite everybody to join us. But if your mission's not our mission, you're not going to stay with us long because you're going to be found out by yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of times people leave, but if not, I'm not afraid to say, I'm sorry, this is not for you.
So, as a business leader, I'm trying to convince people that where we're going and what we're doing is important as well. We don't have the heart issues, but we are trying to do something too.
Sure.
How can I pull someone with me if they're only halfway in? Or is it your argument that if they're only halfway in, that they might as well take the other half and get out?
No, no. If you're halfway in, we hope we grow you to 90%. You know what I mean? You don't have to come on board and be a full disciple. But as time goes on, we'll know if that person cares or not, because they go the extra mile. You know that.
Right.
You can see it. The people who really care and the ones who punch the clock. I'm not saying there's any wrong with people wanting to get home with their family, because I want family people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I want people who love their family.
That's what matters to you. Let me ask you, you came from the world of work where you were prior to this charity. You jumped in because it was important and emotionally connective, and now it's massive. Has there been someone that you would call mentor? Because it's a whole different world trying to run a 501c3. Is there someone that you've been able to lean into who's been a counselor that has been important, or is this just been seat of the pants?
It's seat of the pants. It's inspirational for me. Everything that we're doing, we all can't help ourselves but to do what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I look at everybody, I hear things. I say, oh my God, I should be doing that. You know what I mean? I'm very open to everybody's ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that everything that we're doing has been sent from above.
Mm-hmm.
My family and I, we see very clearly on what we have to do. I said before, it's an easy decision. It's not easy to do, difficult,
Right.
but it's an easy decision to do. I had my own business prior to coming in here.
Right.
I grew my business. I know the power of television and radio. I started my first commercial the first day I turned the key in my retail business, and it took my business off the charts right from the first day. And I didn't want to grow my business so big that I'd be away from my family all the time. I want you to know that I just wanted to be successful, and successful I was. I knew about construction. I was a builder besides. I was a small developer, so I wasn't afraid to build homes.
Right.
The founders of Home Depot, we honored them at a gala. Home Depot is a great donor to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Kenny Langone, Arthur Blank, and Bertie Marcus. How could I not pick their brains if I'm talking to them? They were so creative. When they were talking at our gala, there was nobody listening more than me. Some of the things that they did in the beginning of that business, I said, oh my God, ingenious. Like they put different boxes on different shelves that were nothing in it, just to look like they had great inventory and stuff, Just being around them and listening to their stories were great. General Motors, listen to Mary Barrett, right?
Wow.
Millions of dollars they raise for us every single year. They auctioned off cars for us. Jelly Roll just did a truck for us. I don't know if you know who Jelly Roll is.
Of course.
Yeah, okay. Well, he just designed a Chevy truck for us. GM helped us again with that. And Barrett Jackson's all in for us. American Express is in. So I look at all these businesses that are so successful. They're more intricate than ours, for sure, but business is business. And I've always run Tunnel to Towers like a business. I wanted to make sure that and can sustain itself. You have to have a real business plan. You have to have a real budget. It was a year and a half I worked on the homeless veteran program before I rolled it out to find all the kinks. I was already doing it, but I wanted to find all the mistakes out before I went out to the public. And I went on Fox, the show called The Five, and I told them all about that we're going to eradicate homelessness amongst our veterans, and that was the word that I came up with, because eradicate is a strong word. When you say eradicate, that tells the story, right? What we're going to do. We're not going to help the homeless veterans. We're not going to make sure that we build X amount of apartments or houses for homeless veterans or communities for them. No, we're going to eradicate. It's a strong word.
That's a really good point, too. Use strong language when you're talking about what your mission is going to be.
If your mission is what your mission is, you better use the right words on what your mission is. So if it's eradicate, it's eradicate.
Wow.
If it's to take care of every single first responder in America who dies in line of duty, it leaves young kids behind, we're going to pay off their mortgage, stay it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take care of people who die in the line of duty. No, we're going to take care of every first responder. It's those words that separate you from other not-for-profits that maybe work in that field, but are not taking on the approach that we are taking on. And that's why I say I'm staying in our lane, because I think if a foundation could be around for the rest of time that does what we're doing, that's enough. That's enough.
That's enough. That's massive, but that's also bold. I think what you've taught me as much as anything today is the importance of being bold in everything that you're doing, because by being pure of heart and having a very simple concept to begin with, you're able to build upon that because of your willingness to be bold. I will tell you, maybe one of the most impactful moments, Sports Illustrated is based in Midtown Manhattan.
Sure.
All the writers, the senior writers, all live around the world. We don't live in New York. And in the 60 days after 9/11, any one of us that wanted to come to New York to volunteer and work in the effort to support the community, support the city, support the firefighters, the magazine, Time Inc. paid for us to be there.
Wow.
As long as we needed the hotels, whatever it was, come and give your time. And I spent 2 weeks during that window of time at the little church,
Trinity, yeah,
where before the firefighters who would come out of the pit would get a chance to go eat, they needed to be cleaned. And that was our volunteer effort, our group of writers. We just sat and talked to firefighters and washed their equipment for them so that they could go get a meal. Some of the most impactful time that I ever spent.
You'll never forget that.
I'll never forget it. And I've come back for the 10th and the 20th anniversary of that gathering. It's really, really impactful. So this means a lot to be able to tell your story.
Thanks again, Don. If you want to come up September 29th, I'll invite you up and your team up if you want to come up to the run. You've never seen anything like it in your life. Trust me.
I have to tell you, 2 different times during this thing, I thought, could I read the next question? Because I have tears in my eyes. So thank you. I've learned. My heart is not just better because of this hour, but my acumen is too. Thank you for teaching me some today, Frank. How can any listener here contribute, become part of, or be a supporter of the organization?
It's simple. T2T.org. It's T2T.org. Stands for Tunnel to Towers. Because my brother ran through the tunnel to the towers. You can do $11 a month. You can do more. You do more. It's not hard to join our mission, and you be part of it, because we don't get it done unless a lot of people join us.
Frank, thank you today for being a corporate competitor with us. I find so much value in what you shared, and I can't wait to spread the news.
Well, Don, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure for me, because I forgot a lot of things that I just talked about. You know what I mean? In the beginning, and going through the whole story, it gets me ready to go. So thank you. Let's hit the golf course one day.
You don't want to hit it with me, because it would take you a long time to play 90 holes.
It could be 18.
I may have planted 85 of those 95 golf balls that were in that muck, but God bless you, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for this.
I don't know what I think I've accomplished in my life, but whenever you think you've accomplished something and then you get a chance to talk to somebody like Frank Siller, you realize that you're doing nothing, right? Frank Siller has taken what was a horrific moment in his family's life and turned it into something that's changing the life for so many. And for that, we should applaud him today and every day. I hope you'll join me in supporting Tunnel to Tower. I'm going to do that. I will be a supporter here before this episode is up. I was really taken by the plan. I mean, I don't know that he called it a plan, but the plan that allowed him to take that moment and actually turn it into something that today is changing the life for so many. Number one, keep your mission pure and your asks small. Be simple in what you're trying to do at the very beginning. Don't overcomplicate what it is that you're looking to do. That idea that you can join and become a part of the organization for $11 a month, that makes it almost impossible to say no. Then I loved that as it continued to grow, he said, I'm not afraid to take on the right thing, no matter how enormous. He listened to the challenges of those he served. And out of listening to those challenges, he developed a plan. He said, don't let fear get in the way of growing something when it's the right thing to do. How often does fear stop us all? And then have a plan. Have a plan, declare it out loud so that you can sustain it. And in that plan, use strong language. I loved it when he said, we're going to eradicate homelessness for veterans. Now we're going to help homeless veterans. We're going to eradicate homelessness. The stronger the language, the more impactful the opportunity. Boy, so many great and powerful lessons today, just taken from a family's desire to do good in the name of their brother. I'm better today. I hope you are as well. I appreciate you. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on Apple and Spotify. Feedback helps us spread the insights of our guests to a wider audience. It actually increases our ratings. Thank you so much for those who have done so in the past. And catch new episodes every Wednesday. Subscribe at corporatecompetitorpodcast.com to be the first to get a chance to listen. And as a thank you gift, I will send you a chapter from one of my best-selling books. Stay connected with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. My handle is @DonYaeger, DonYaeger. And until next week, I appreciate you.